It wasn't the confetti, the massive lights, or even the perfectly choreographed setlist that defined the climax of BTS Jin's historic night at the O2 Arena. It was a single, unexpected moment when Kim Seokjin, alone on stage, placed his hands on the piano and played one song. That was all it took. In less than 3 minutes, over 14,000 fans were visibly trembling, some sobbing uncontrollably, others holding onto each other as if something irreversible had just happened. But what did they hear? And more importantly, what did they feel? Jin's London stop was expected to be grand. What no one anticipated was that it would be soul-shattering. Armies who had traveled across continents for this one night stood breathless when the stage lights dimmed and a grand piano rolled quietly into view. There was no announcement, no warning, just silence, and then the sound of a single note. From that moment, the energy in the arena changed entirely. And when Jin took his seat, the screaming stopped. What replaced it was a tense, anticipatory silence. He didn't speak. He didn't smile. He didn't introduce the song. He simply played. And somehow, that made it infinitely more powerful. The melody was unfamiliar to some, yet achingly personal to others. Some armies claimed it was an unreleased composition, something private that Jin had hinted at but never performed publicly. Others whispered in disbelief, recognizing a tune that held meaning from years ago, perhaps a piece tied to BTS's pre-debut days, or something Jin had once written but never explained. But the song itself wasn't the only thing that broke armies. It was the way he played it. Jin's fingers moved with delicate restraint, yet his expressions betrayed a storm he could no longer contain. The screens zoomed in on his face, revealing tears welling in his eyes, though he never let them fall. For many watching, it wasn't just a performance, it was a confession. Something unspoken, raw, and deeply intimate was being shared without a single lyric. What made 14,000 people cry was not just the melody, it was the weight of everything that came with it. Jin's recent return to public stages, his resilience through personal transitions, the looming expectations, and the silent void left by other BTS members currently pursuing individual paths. In that moment, it felt like Jin was carrying the emotional weight of an entire generation, and his piano became the language he used to let it go. As fans later shared online, there was a collective moment of realization. They weren't just witnessing a song, they were witnessing closure, or perhaps a plea for understanding. Many armies broke down because they understood, without being told, that this wasn't part of the plan. This song was not scheduled. It was not rehearsed. It was a spontaneous act of emotional surrender. And it struck harder than any perfectly staged encore. Some armies speculated that the piece was a personal letter, disguised in melody, directed to someone specific, perhaps a fellow member, or to the army themselves. The internet erupted with theories. Was it a goodbye? A hidden message? A reminder of something that's been lost or something yet to come? And why was this song chosen? This particular night, in this particular city? The performance ended as quietly as it began. Jin stood up, bowed his head, and left the piano without a single word. No applause followed immediately. The arena remained frozen for several seconds, as if time itself had paused to process what had just happened. Then, the wave of emotion broke. Cries, shouts, and endless chants of Kim Seokjin filled the air, but it was clear that something sacred had just passed through that room. Jin didn't bring it up afterward. In interviews following the show, he spoke of gratitude, of the energy in London, of the professionalism of the crew. But the piano was never mentioned. Not once. As if even addressing it would diminish its truth. Fans, however, refused to move on. Social media was flooded with personal stories of what the performance meant to them. Some said it helped them grieve. Others said it gave them strength. All agreed. It was unlike anything they had ever experienced at a concert. There were reports of armies collapsing in the crowd, not from exhaustion, but from emotional overwhelm. Security staff, some of whom had never heard of BTS before, were seen assisting crying fans and handing out tissues. Even those working behind the scenes later admitted they had no explanation for what happened. "We've hosted hundreds of shows." One staff member was overheard saying, "But we've never seen an audience react like that to a single song." The moment has since been dubbed the piano silence by online communities, a point in the timeline of BTS history that will likely be remembered for years to come, not for its musical complexity, but for its emotional gravity. And perhaps that was Jin's intent all along, to speak without words, to let the sound speak for the pain, the gratitude, the fear, and the love that has no easy way of being explained. In a group as global as BTS, where every move is scrutinized, every lyric dissected, and every pause interpreted, this moment defied all analysis. It was not polished. It was not choreographed. It was human. And in its raw humanity, it touched 14,000 people in the same breath. Even now, fans are still trying to identify the exact title of the song. Musicians have attempted to recreate the chords from memory. Analysts have slowed down the performance in an attempt to read Jin's fingers and reconstruct the notes. But no one has been able to capture the full piece exactly. Perhaps that's the point. Perhaps the music was meant to live in that moment alone, and nowhere else. One thing is certain. No video, no fan cam, and no retelling can ever recreate the power of being in that room. For those who are there, that night became a personal chapter in their own lives, one forever linked to a man, a piano, and a melody that pulled something deep from inside them. And so, the question remains, what really happened on that stage? Was it a goodbye masked in music? A quiet promise for the future? Or simply a moment of vulnerability that reminded everyone, idol and fan alike, that sometimes the most powerful things are spoken without words? The emotional weight of Jin's piano moment at the O2 Arena has become an inescapable subject across all platforms, from ARMY fan communities to global media outlets. The footage has been replayed, dissected, slowed down, and analyzed by thousands. Tweets, TikToks, and YouTube Shorts flood the algorithm with reactions, tears, and personal confessions. Yet amidst the flood of emotion, a difficult and critical question must now be asked. Are we absolutely certain this moment unfolded the way it appears? Or was it designed to make us believe it did? In an age where virality often takes precedence over truth, is it possible that the so-called piano confession was orchestrated to produce a predictable, sensational response? Could the mass crying of 14,000 people, though compelling, be the result of heightened emotional framing, deliberate media manipulation, and the strategic timing of an unplanned moment? Or are we discrediting something real simply because it felt too powerful to be true? These are not comfortable questions, but they are necessary ones that we live in a digital ecosystem where the line between authentic and performative has become dangerously thin. When multiple TikTok clips frame the same moment using identical captions like "Jin's silent goodbye" or "a song that wasn't on the set list," are we witnessing real audience interpretation or engineered consensus? Are fans moved by what happened in the arena or by what they were told happened afterward? There is a troubling tendency to conflate virality with truth. The more a moment is shared, the more it is believed to be real. But let us not forget, the number of views does not validate an event's authenticity. What if this particular moment, Jin walking silently to the piano, playing a nameless tune, sparking collective weeping, was carefully crafted to go viral, calculated to elicit the very emotional explosion that now sustains its momentum? To be clear, this is not an accusation, it is an invitation. An invitation to think critically. Was the performance captured spontaneously by fan cams alone, or were professional-grade cameras positioned for a planned close-up of Jin's tearful expression? Was the silence of the crowd authentic awe, or were audience reactions edited post-production to remove cheering and amplify the emotional stillness? Are the fans crying on camera because of what they witnessed, or because of what they were already primed to feel? More pressingly, do we believe what we saw, or what we were told to feel after we saw it? Perhaps the performance was real, and the reactions were genuine. Perhaps Jin, in a rare act of emotional transparency, let his guard down and poured out a deeply personal message through melody. This interpretation is not only plausible, it is what many armies deeply believe. But even in that belief, skepticism must exist. The very sincerity of the moment should not make it immune to scrutiny. In fact, the more emotionally compelling a story is, the more rigorously it should be examined. We must also consider the timing. Jin's piano moment occurred precisely when media attention surrounding BTS's solo activities reached a fever pitch. Could this moment be part of a broader narrative push to reshape public focus, to recenter attention on Jin not just as a performer, but as an emotional axis of the group's ongoing legacy? Or was it his own spontaneous rebellion against being reduced to commercial fragments of a group that once moved the world as a single unit? Even the number 14,000 should not be accepted without question. Has this figure been verified, or is it an emotionally powerful round number intended to emphasize mass hysteria? Is it meant to signal a stadium filled with unity, or to make headlines more clickable? Let us remember that this story has been circulated through platforms that prioritize speed and emotion over accuracy. TikTok compresses moments into 30-second emotional spikes. Twitter, now X, rewards brevity and virality. YouTube thumbnails and titles often exaggerate events to maximize engagement. None of these platforms are optimized for nuance or factual depth. So, how much of what we know is based on complete context, and how much is shaped by what others have chosen to show us? There are more questions than answers, and that is precisely the point. Have we, as consumers, become too eager to believe what moves us emotionally? Have we confused collective catharsis with factual verification? Do we share and repost because we know something is true, or because it made us feel something true? We must acknowledge that the most dangerous hoaxes are not the ones that lie outright, but the ones that amplify a partial truth to create an illusion of total authenticity. In that sense, even if Jin's performance was real, the global reaction to it might be artificially inflated by the echo chamber of social media. It is essential that fans, and journalists alike, approach viral moments like this with both reverence and skepticism. Reverence, because emotional honesty is rare in global entertainment. Skepticism, because emotional manipulation is not. As powerful as this moment may be, we must all ask ourselves, are we celebrating an authentic human expression, or participating in a carefully directed narrative designed to manipulate mass feeling? We invite you, the reader, to reflect on this deeply. Ask yourself, do you believe Jin's piano performance was a spontaneous outpouring of emotion, or was it a calculated move to capture the global spotlight? Do you believe the tears of 14,000 armies were genuine, or were they primed by the overwhelming emotional buildup surrounding BTS's recent solo narratives? Are we witnessing a moment of truth, or a perfectly executed illusion? This article does not claim to offer final answers. Instead, it offers questions, hard questions, that we believe must be asked, especially in a media environment where truth has become indistinguishable from emotionally satisfying fiction. We recognize that the sources circulating this story are diverse, spanning from first-hand fan footage to mainstream YouTube channels, viral Twitter threads, and emotionally charged TikTok edits. But we must emphasize, these sources, while powerful, remain unverifiable. They do not constitute conclusive evidence. They construct emotional narratives, beautiful, moving, sometimes even life-changing, but not always factually reliable.